The night skyline of Boston shimmered like a blanket of fallen stars beyond the glass walls of the 42nd floor office.
The conference room was still alive with murmurs, the faint hum of computers, and the soft buzz of ambition.
Amid all that glittering power stood a man who didn't belong. A man in a navy blue cleaner's jumpsuit holding an old metal bucket that had seen better days.
His name was Andrew, and tonight exhaustion clung to his every step like a shadow he couldn't shake. He had just finished mopping the corridors when his trembling hand slipped. The bucket tilted. A flash of silver water cascaded forward, instantly drenching the open laptop on the polished table before him. The screen flickered, sparked, and went black. The CEO, Charlotte, turned sharply, her eyes widening in disbelief.
The entire boardroom froze. Andrew's heart thundered. The bucket clanged to the floor as panic surged through his veins.
He could already see his life crumbling before him. His job gone, his rent unpaid, his little daughter asleep at home, dreaming under a flickering heater he could barely afford to keep running.
He stumbled over his words, trying to apologize, but his voice cracked. He had been working 3 shifts back to back. His hands were raw from scrubbing floors.
He hadn't eaten a full meal since morning. All he could do was stare at the soaked laptop as beads of water rolled down its shattered keyboard like tears.
Charlotte stood frozen for a long moment, her sharp green eyes darting from the drenched device to the terrified man before her.
To her, that laptop was her world. It held confidential plans, investor details, and something deeply personal she hadn't shared with anyone.
The board members stepped back, whispering among themselves. Someone muttered that the cleaner should be fired immediately. Another called for security, but Charlotte didn't move.
She noticed the way Andrew's hands trembled, the dark circles under his eyes, the faint burn mark on his forearm from some old cleaning accident. Something about him, the desperation, the silent guilt, stopped her anger before it could rise. She knelt by the table, her hands trembling as she tried to dry the laptop with a tissue. "It's ruined," one of her colleagues muttered under his breath. Andrew's eyes welled up. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," he said softly, almost choking on the words. "I'll pay for it somehow. I didn't mean to." His voice broke, the sentence collapsing under the weight of shame. He had no idea that his mistake had already saved him. As Charlotte opened the screen again, the display flickered to life just one more time before dying completely. For a brief, fragile second, something appeared on it. A photograph. A small girl with light brown hair, maybe 5 or 6, smiling brightly while holding a hand-drawn card that read, "Happy birthday, Daddy, you're my hero." Charlotte's eyes softened instantly. She glanced up at Andrew and for the first time saw not a cleaner, but a father. The room fell silent. The executives exchanged puzzled looks, unsure what the CEO was staring at. But for Charlotte, that image hit a place she hadn't touched in years. Her own father had been a janitor once, a man who had worked nights to put her through school, who had died before seeing her rise to the top. The memory hit like a tidal wave. She blinked hard, but the tears escaped anyway, rolling down her cheeks before she could stop them. Andrew looked utterly lost. He thought she was crying out of anger that he had destroyed something priceless. But the truth was, the sight of that little girl had shattered every wall around Charlotte's heart. She asked softly, "Is that your daughter?" Andrew hesitated, then nodded. "Her name's Emily," he said, his voice trembling. "I keep her picture as my wallpaper. It reminds me why I'm doing all this."
He explained in fragments,
how his wife had passed away 2 years ago after a long illness, how he worked nights to keep his daughter in school,
How he sometimes brought her to the janitor's closet because he couldn't afford childcare. Every word carried exhaustion, love, and an unspoken pride. Charlotte's chest tightened. She dismissed the murmuring executives and told Andrew to sit, though he refused at first.
Then, without a word, she sent everyone else out of the room. She asked about Emily's favorite color, her favorite food.
As the door closed, the city lights behind her glowed brighter, reflecting in the tears that still shimmered on her cheeks.
She told him quietly that she wasn't angry, that accidents happen, and that maybe, just maybe, this one had happened for a reason.
Andrew smiled faintly for the first time, saying she loved pancakes with too much syrup and coloring books she could never finish.
Over the next few days, Charlotte couldn't stop thinking about the night. She had the laptop repaired, though she'd already copied the photo that had appeared on the screen into her memory forever.
A week later, she called Andrew into her office. He arrived nervously, his uniform freshly ironed, his eyes anxious.
Charlotte stood by the window, holding a small folder. She told him that she had been reviewing a proposal for an internal maintenance project, something that could use a supervisor who truly understood the struggles of the staff. Then she handed him the folder with his name on it. Andrew opened it slowly.
Inside was an offer letter. She was promoting him. He tried to speak, but his voice broke into quiet sobs. His salary would triple, his working hours would be reduced, and there was a note at the bottom in her handwriting for Emily. "Thank you for reminding me that kindness still matters." Charlotte turned away for a moment, pretending to check her phone, but her own eyes glistened too. In the weeks that followed, the one silent cleaner began to smile again. On his first weekend off, he bought her a small second-hand bicycle with pink ribbons. He would come home early to Emily, who'd wait by the window with 2 cups of hot cocoa and her favorite storybook.
She squealed with joy, pedaling down the narrow street, while he watched, his hands trembling not from exhaustion now, but from gratitude.
Charlotte, meanwhile, started a new initiative at her company, a scholarship program for the children of low-income employees. At the launch event, she mentioned, "Sometimes it takes one small accident to remind us that success means nothing if we forget where we came from."
As for Andrew and Emily, their days slowly turned from struggle to hope. Each sunrise felt like a gift. And sometimes, when Andrew mopped the shiny office floors, he'd glance at the CEO's desk and smile, remembering the night he thought he had ruined everything.
When, in truth, he had saved something far more precious. That night didn't destroy his life. It changed it forever.
If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that true leadership sees beyond mistakes and into the human spirit,
And that a moment of understanding can transform hardship into hope. Please like this video and subscribe to Third Person View.
Share it with someone who needs a reminder that empathy can change everything.
Your support helps us continue sharing stories that matter. Share your insights in the comments below. I read them all.
Before we close, I want to ask you, what do you think prompted Charlotte's profound change of heart in that moment of crisis, seeing beyond the ruined laptop to the man and his daughter?